WFHB, I'm Katrine Bruner.
Next up, WFHB Assistant News Director Sydney Foreman talks to Bloomington Mayor John Hamilton in our latest recurring Monday segment, A Few Minutes with the Mayor. We now turn to Sydney Foreman as she asks Mayor Hamilton questions taken from our social media pages.
Community members posted questions on our social media via Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, posing questions to Bloomington Mayor John Hamilton about current issues. Today, on A Few Minutes with the Mayor, John Hamilton answers these questions. So our first question is from Facebook. It's from Joe. He's asking, when will the city start antibody testing? Most of us will survive. A third of us won't notice the infection. Another third will recover without health care. We need to move forward with knowledge. So, Mayor Hamilton, when will the city start antibody testing?
Well, I wish we could do more testing right now. The question notes a really important point, which is we have not been able to do the kind of testing we would like for this virus, and I don't need to get into a lot of finger pointing about it, but it just is what it is. I do believe that antibody testing may begin even this week in the community. Now, that doesn't mean all of us get tested, but it is so important as we move forward into this disease that we have much better testing regimes and surveillance testing and antibody testing and those kinds of things, which we will get. The nation is just behind the curve on that.
So the next question comes from Kathy. She's asking, in a recent Herald Time article about money to aid city businesses, it was stated that the ordinance outlines a process for utilizing the money, which includes enlisting partners to assess needs and fund distribution. And she's asking, who will these partners be?
I'm so glad we have a great group of people who I stood up about 3 weeks ago now to help really think about the economic recovery, stabilization, and recovery from the COVID disease. And this group has worked super hard over the last 3 weeks. And as the caller, Kathy, indicated, there is funding that's now available to smaller businesses and their employees through them to help support employment and survival, frankly, through this terrible economic slump we're going into. We have asked a group of people, including some bankers and including some community economic folks, labor voices, others, to play the role of assessing the actual individual applications for money. Our city people, we have a small department and determined and incredibly active, but we thought it would be helpful to have a group. The final names are not all decided. Okay. We're kind of putting the team together. It's close, but I think it'll probably be announced Monday or Tuesday this week.
So the next question is from Jada, and she asks, and I quote, when will the city market divest from Nazis and move back to a city hall instead of disturbing the Broadview neighborhood, causing problems for at-risk people, emergency and essential workers, and causing environmental issues from dozens of idling cars for hours at a time?
Thanks for the question about the market. The market has opened for the April market, which is kind of a little separate month from the full market starting in May. And because of the emergency order and the issues of downtown, it was decided to do that market at the pavilion in the Switchyard. And the first weekend, I can assure you, was difficult. There was a lot of traffic. The second weekend, which just finished, was much, much smoother from all reports. I wasn't there myself the second time. And much less delays, more people served more quickly. And this is, the market is really important to help support our local farmers and to help support fresh food for hundreds of families and thousands maybe in the city. As the questioner notes, there has been, of course, concern about who sells at the market and how that's done. The basically, we're as a governmental market, we are not allowed to officially make any determinations based on what people believe on whether they attend the market or sell at the market or other things like that. Mm-hmm. And we are committed to, and I am personally, and I know our department is committed to offering a diverse and inclusive and welcoming market. It's into its fifth decade of service in the community, and we are committed to making sure it represents the values of Bloomington, and we'll continue to work on that.
I think I would like to follow that one up personally and just asking, with the environmental issues that she noted with the dozens of cars idling, has the city kind of considered more environmental ways of doing this? I realize the cars are to separate the people, but are walkers welcome, or bikers, or people who don't have that transportation or wish to not idle in their cars?
Yes, walkers and bikers are welcome, and they're frequent. They are big customers of the market. And I know that the second weekend there was much less waiting. Cars typically, from what I understand, were 15-minute to 30-minute experience at the market. And I know some people turn off their cars. So we're doing everything we can to diminish that impact, and welcome ideas and suggestions about it. But it is, this is an important community, the local farm community, and they actually, the farmers market has had to limit the number of customers who want to come there in order to protect both the volume that can be handled and the experience of the customer. So we hope to be able to keep building that up so everybody who wants to go to the farmers market can.
The next question here is from Alex, and they're asking, why is Bloomington not on the frontier of cultural, infrastructural, technological advancement as a role model to other communities of social economic equality?
Well, I guess I actually think Bloomington is on the forefront of cultural, and I think Bloomington is actually very much on the front lines of trying to support cultural advancement and technological inclusion and progress. The world changes fast, but Bloomington is a very progressive and forward-looking community, both culturally, through the arts, through diversity, through inclusion, to be so focused on how we expand our cultural footprint and our cultural landscape, as well as from different new festivals and new experiences to the mill and the new economy, and kind of welcoming the new entrepreneurs of the next age. So I guess I don't agree that we're not that, but I'm not sure I exactly understand what they're asking. So maybe we'll need a follow-up on that.
So these other questions are from WFHB. You released in a city release that your wife has tested positive for the coronavirus. And of course, we all wish her a speedy and healthy recovery. But what are some safety measures that you both are taking and would recommend for people in similar situations who are facing this pandemic in their homes?
Sure. Well, thank you for your good wishes. And Dawn is actually in the hospital now. She went in on Saturday, so she's getting cared for there. And we really appreciate the health workers and frontline folks who do that. And we're monitoring day to day. She's doing okay, but it's a scary time for us, as it is for many. I think a couple main points. One is we really have to assume that anybody could have the virus, whether it's ourselves or anybody else. Because some of us are asymptomatic when we get the virus. We just don't really know that we're sick. And two, even if we're going to become symptomatic, we can be communicable before we're symptomatic. So we really have to take in the fact that each of us can be communicating this disease or threatening to do so at any time, even if we feel fine. And the same as we're interacting with people. That's why really the physical distancing is so important. That's kind of the fundamental thing, is to keep physical distancing from each other as we try to keep this virus from jumping among us. And Dawn and I have done that for many, many weeks, actually. And she was super careful in the house and in physical distancing. And she ended up being a confirmed case, and I have never had any symptoms. I still don't. But maybe I already had it. I don't know. That's back to the other question. Maybe being able to do the surveillance testing and checking whether we did have it is important. But physical distancing is first. Using a mask outside is now recommended, not instead of physical distancing, but in addition to physical distancing. So I'm doing that, and then just trying to stay healthy. If you are unfortunate enough to get COVID in a way that really diminishes you, like it has Dawn, you got to really monitor your symptoms and if they get severe enough, you have to be ready to go to the hospital because they can take care of it.
Do you have a question for Mayor John Hamilton? Comment that question on this coming week's post for a few minutes with the mayor to have your question answered. For WFHB, I'm Sydney Foreman.